The laughter still echoed in my head long after the headlights disappeared. It was supposed to be a fun weekend trip with my wife's family. We'd rented a cabin by the lake, packed snacks, and joked about leaving behind the stress of the city. But when I came out of the roadside restroom that evening, the van was gone. First I thought they were playing a prank. I laughed, checked my phone and waited for them to circle back. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 30. My laughter died in my throat. No call, no text. Just silence and the creeping cold of dusk settling on an empty highway. When I finally reached my wife, her voice was casual, almost amused. "Relax, Daniel. Just a joke. My dad thought it would be funny." "You left me in the middle of nowhere, Megan," I said through clenched teeth. 300 miles from home. "Oh, come on. We'll pick you up in a bit," she replied, her tone sugar-coated and dismissive. But they didn't. By midnight my phone had died. I slept on a bench outside a closed diner, shivering beneath my jacket. That night something inside me cracked, something I couldn't fix later. The next morning I hitched a ride with a truck driver named Joe. He offered coffee and a quiet seat in the cab. When I told him what happened, he stared at me like I'd confessed a crime. "They left you out here, for fun?" he asked. "Yeah," I said softly. "They think humiliation is a game." He shook his head. "Son, you might want to think real hard about what kind of people laugh at your pain." I did. For every mile we drove, memories replayed. Megan rolling her eyes when I couldn't take a joke, her brothers teasing me about being too serious, her mother whispering how I wasn't their kind of man. By the time Joe dropped me at a gas station near the city, my mind was no longer fogged with disbelief. It was clear, painfully clear. They didn't just prank me. They despised me. When I finally reached home 2 days later, I didn't tell anyone I was back. My wife wasn't there. Her car was gone, her slippers were by the door, and her perfume lingered faintly in the air. I charged my phone, expecting at least one missed call or apology. There was nothing. Only a single text from her brother, sent the night they left me stranded. "Lighten up, man. You're too sensitive." I stared at the screen, feeling my chest tighten until I could barely breathe. Then my phone buzzed. It was Megan. "Hey, you're back," she asked lightly, as if nothing had happened. "I got home," I said, my voice flat. "No thanks to you." "Daniel, you're making it sound worse than it was," she sighed. "It was a joke." Everyone laughed. I stayed silent. "Look," she continued, "maybe you need to learn to let things go. It's exhausting walking on eggshells with you." That was the moment I realized she felt nothing. Not shame, not regret, not empathy. For the next week I barely spoke. Megan went about her days as if I were invisible. I heard her laughing in the kitchen on calls with her mother, whispering to her siblings about how dramatic I'd been. Every sound chipped away at whatever love I had left. Then one night, as I sat in the living room pretending to read, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A message flashed across the screen. "Last weekend was perfect." He still doesn't know, does he? It was from her brother-in-law, Paul. My heart pounded as I scrolled up. Their messages stretched back months. Jokes, compliments, flirtations that grew bolder over time. Then came photos. Private ones. The family trip had been more than a prank. Had been a cover. While I sat freezing by a highway, she'd been in a cabin bed with another man, her sister's husband. I dropped the phone, my stomach twisting. The betrayal was so deep it didn't even feel real. When she came home later, humming and careless, I asked her calmly, "How was your joke, Megan?" She froze. "What do you mean?" "I saw your messages," I said. "You and Paul." The color drained from her face. "Daniel, it wasn't like that." "Then explain the photos," I interrupted. "Explain why your family laughed while you cheated." Her voice trembled. "It was a mistake. I was drunk, confused. Please just listen." "No," I said quietly. "I listened when you left me on the side of the road. I listened when you called it funny. I'm done listening." That night I packed what little I cared about. She cried, begged, swore it meant nothing. But her words felt hollow, like echoes from someone I no longer knew. Before I left, I looked around the house we'd built together. Every photo, every piece of furniture, every shared moment now tainted. "You wanted to teach me a joke," I said. "You wanted to see how much I'd take. I guess the punchline is that I finally learned to walk away." Then I closed the door behind me. For months I stayed off the grid. No contact, no social media, no explanations. People from her family called a few times, pretending to check on me, but I ignored them. I built a new life in a quiet coastal town, started work at a small repair shop, and learned to enjoy silence again. Sometimes at night I'd replay that highway moment, the sound of fading laughter, the loneliness, the humiliation, and feel a strange gratitude. Because that was the night I was freed. The real joke wasn't that they abandoned me. It was that they thought I'd come back begging for forgiveness. But I never did. A year later I got a message from an unknown number. It was Megan. "Daniel, please call me. Everything's falling apart." Curiosity got the better of me. "Call." Her voice was shaky, defeated. "Paul left his wife for someone else," she said. "My family's furious with me. They won't speak to me. I lost everything." I said nothing. "Do you hate me?" she asked after a long pause. I thought about it carefully. "No," I said. "You did what you thought was funny. But every joke ends eventually." Then I hung up. Outside, the waves crashed against the shore, and I felt something close to peace. They had left me 300 miles from home, laughing as they drove away. But I had traveled farther than any of them ever would. 'Cause I never went back. And that was the best punchline of all.